Education in Sri Lanka has a long history that dates back 2 millennia. The Constitution of Sri Lanka provides for education as a fundamental right. Sri Lanka's population has a literacy rate of 98.1%. Higher than that expected for a developing nation. It has the highest literacy rate in South Asia and overall, one of the highest literacy rates in Asia. Education plays a major part in the life and culture of the country and dates back to 543 BC. Sri Lanka's modern educational system was brought about by its integration into the British Empire in the 19th century. Education currently falls under the control of both the central government and the provincial councils, with some responsibilities lying with the central government and the provincial council having autonomy for others. Administration. Primary school to higher education are primarily funded and overseen by 3 governmental ministries. Ministry of Education. For schools, Pirivanas, Teachers Training Colleges and Colleges of Education, Department of Examinations, National Examination Service, Ministry of Higher Education and Highways. For universities, Ministry of Education Services. For supplying the physical facilities required for general education, Ministry of Skills Development and Vocational Training. For vocational education and technical colleges. Exceptions to this system exist, mostly when it comes to tertiary, with several public universities and institutes coming under the purview of different ministries. These divisions have led to a high degree of mismanagement and inefficiency over the years. History. Education in Sri Lanka has a history of over 2,300 years. It is believed that the Sanskrit language was brought to the island from North India as a result of the establishment of the Buddhism in the reign of King Devanampiya from the Buddhist monks sent by Emperor Asoka of India. Since then an education system evolved based around the Buddhist temples and Pirivanas, the latter primarily intended for clergy and higher education. Evidence of this system is found on the Mahavamsa and Dipavamsa, the Chronicle of Lanka that deals with the history of the island from the arrival of Prince Vijaya and his followers in the 6th century BC, with the outset of the colonial expansion on the island, first in the coastal provinces and then interior. Christian missionary societies become active in education. The Church's monopoly in education ended following the Colebrook Commission set up by the British administration. Primary and secondary schools. A standard system of schools were begun by the British based on the recommendations of the Colebrook Commission in 1836. This is regarded as the beginning of the modern schooling system in the island. It started with the establishment of the Royal College in Colombo and led to the formation of several single-sex schools constructed during the colonial period by the British. Some of these schools were affiliated to the Anglican Church. These included S. Thomas College in Mount Lavinia and Trinity College in Kandy. The education in vernacular schools was largely free due to government grants to cover the cost of teaching and local philanthropists providing the buildings, equipment and the books. In 1938, the education system in Ceylon was made formally free following the granting of universal franchise in 1931. The Minister of Education, late Hon. Dr. C.W.W. Kanangara, and the Executive Committee of Education, which included members such as H. W. Amarasuriya, took the initiative in establishing free education. Under this initiative the government established Madhya Mahavidyalayas that were scattered around the island to provide education to all. The medium was either Sinhala or Tamil. In 1942 a special committee was appointed to observe the education system in. Among the suggestions that followed, the following play an important role. Make available to all children a good education free of charge, so that education ceases to be a commodity purchasable only by the urban affluent. Make national languages the media of instruction in place of English so that opportunities for higher education, lucrative employment open only to small number of the urban affluent, would become available to others as well, i.e., Rationalize the school system so that educational provision is adequate, efficient and economical. IV. Ensure that every child is provided with instruction in the religion of his/her parents. V. Protect teachers from exploitation by managers of schools. Vi. Make adequate provision for adult education. After independence, the number of schools and the literacy rate substantially increased. According to the Ministry of Statistics, today there are approximately 9,830 public schools serving close to 4,030,000 students, all around the island. During the colonial times, late national heroes like Anagarika Dharmapala with foreigners like Colonel Henry Steele Olcott and Madame Blavatsky of the Buddhist Theosophical Society installed Buddhist schools to foster Sinhala students with an English education rich in Buddhist values and to bring Buddhism to life at a time when it was slowly fading away. Most of these schools were established in the capitals of the major provinces of Sri Lanka. The first of these were Ananda College, Colombo, Dharmaraja College, Kandy, Mahinda College, Gaul, Musaeus College, Colombo and Malayadeva College, Karunagala, which were followed decades later by Visakha Balika Mahavidyalaya, Colombo, Nalanda College, Colombo and Mahamaya Vidyalaya, Kandy. Sri Lanka also has many Catholic schools such as St. Joseph's College, St. Bridget's Convent, St. Peter's College, St. Antony's College, Kandy and the Joseph Vaz College named after the Sri Lankan St. Joseph Vaz. The earliest schools such as Richmond College, Gaul, Jaffna Central College, a Wesley College, Colombo, Kingswood College, Kandy, Girls High School, Kandy and Methodist College, Colombo were started by the Methodist Church. Many schools were built in the post-colonial era. However, the established schools who had their origins in the colonial era dominate social life in Sri Lanka mainly due networks of old boys and old girls. Several superficial changes to the school system took place in the post-independence era. These include the change of the primary medium of education to the national languages, nationalization of private schools and the introduction of national, provisional school system. University higher education in Sri Lanka has been based on the several prominent Pirivanists during the local kingdoms. The origins of the modern university system in Sri Lanka dates back to 1921, when a university college, the Ceylon University College, was established at the former premises of Royal College Colombo affiliated to the University of London. However, the beginning of modern higher education in Ceylon was in 1870 when the Ceylon Medical School was established, followed by Colombo Law College, School of Agriculture and the Government Technical College. The University of Ceylon was established on 1 July 1942 by the Ceylon University Ordinance No. 20 of 1942, which was to be unitary, residential and autonomous. The university was in Colombo. Several years later a second campus was built in Peradeniya. The University of Ceylon became the University of Sri Lanka following the University of Ceylon Act No. 1 of 1972, resulting in a more centralized administration and more direct government control. This gave way for creation of separate universities after the Universities Act No. 16 of 1978. Even though new universities of independent identities were created, the government maintained its direct control and centralized administration, though the University Grants Commission, late Hon. Lalitathu Lavmudalai as Minister of Education, developed an initiative to develop the higher education of the country in the 1980s. The Mahapola Fund, established by him, provided scholarship and much-needed funding to higher education institution to this day. Primary and secondary education structure. Sri Lanka's education structure is divided into 5 parts: primary, junior secondary, senior secondary, collegiate and tertiary. Primary education lasts 5 to 6 years, and at the end of this period, the students may elect to write a national exam called the scholarship exam. This exam allows students with exceptional skills to move on to better schools. After primary education, the junior secondary level lasts for 4 years, followed by 2 years of the senior secondary level, which is the preparation for the General Certificate of Education ordinary level. According to the Sri Lankan law, it is compulsory that all children go to school till grade 9, at which point they can choose to continue their education or drop out and engage in apprenticeship for a job or farming. However, the Ministry of Education strongly advises all students to continue with their studies at least till the GCE ordinary level. Students who are pursuing tertiary education must pass the GCE-OLs in order to enter the collegiate level to study for another 2 years to sit for the GCE advanced level. On successful completion of this exam, students can move on to tertiary education. Therefore, the GCE-ALs is the university entrance exam in Sri Lanka. Due to the variety of ethnic groups in Sri Lanka, many schools teach only in either Sinhala medium or in Tamil medium and not the English medium. The elite colleges in major cities such as Colombo and Kandy teach in all 3 media. Normal ages: primary kindergarten, 4 to 5-year-olds; grade 1, 5 to 6-year-olds; grade 2, 6 to 7-year-olds; grade 3, 7 to 8-year-olds; grade 4, 8 to 9-year-olds; grade 5, 9 to 10-year-olds. Scholarship examination. Secondary junior secondary grade 6, 10 11-year-olds; grade 7, 11 12-year-olds; grade 8, 12 13-year-olds; grade 9, 13 14-year-olds. Senior secondary grade 10, 14 15-year-olds; grade 11, 15 16-year-olds. GCE ordinary level examination. Collegiate grade 12, 16 to 18-year-olds; grade 13, 17 to 19-year-olds. GCE advanced level examination. NB. In some cases, students may be slightly younger. Government schools. Most of the schools in Sri Lanka are maintained by the government as a part of the free education. Currently there are 9,829 government schools with a student population of 3.8 million and 212,441 teachers, 561 Pirivanas. With the establishment of the provincial council system in the 1980s, the central government handed control of most schools to local governments. However, the old schools, which had been around since the colonial times, were retained by the central government, thus creating 3 types of government schools: national schools, provincial schools, Pirivanas. National schools come under the direct control of the Ministry of Education and therefore have direct funding from the ministry. Most of these schools were established during the colonial period and therefore are established institutions. These few are referred to as famous schools or elite schools since they have a rich history and better maintained facilities than the average public school. This is mainly due to the support of their alumni. In recent years, newer schools and several central colleges have been upgraded to national schools from time to time, thereby making the total number of national schools 323. Provincial schools consists of the vast majority of schools in Sri Lanka. Funded and controlled by the local governments, many suffer from poor facilities and a shortage of teachers. Pirivana monastic colleges for the education of Buddhist priests. These have been the centers of secondary and higher education in ancient times for lay people as well. Today 561 Pirivana funded and maintained by the Ministry of Education. Young priests undergo training at these Pirivanas prior to being their ordination and study for GCE-OL and AL examinations. They may gain entrance to state universities for higher religious studies. Non-government schools. Private schools. There has been a considerable increase in the number of private schools in Sri Lanka, due to the emergence of the upper middle class during the colonial era. These private schools follow the local curriculum set up by the Ministry of Education in the local language mediums of Sinhala, Tamil or English. Many of the private schools have access to newer facilities than state-run schools. Currently there are 66 private schools. Of these, 33 non-fee levying assisted private schools and 33 fee levying autonomous private schools. In addition to the government schools, international schools in Sri Lanka are not restricted to the expatriate community. Anyone with the ability and willingness to pay can join these schools. Starting in the late 1980s, these schools have no regulation or control by the Ministry of Education, as it comes under the Board of Investment. Due to this, the standard of education varies greatly between schools and with lesser levels of student discipline compared with other types of schools. The schools are mainly for the children of the expatriate community, charge high tuition fees and can therefore provide good facilities and high standards. The majority of international schools prepares students for the Edexcel General Certificate of Education Ordinary, Advanced Subsidiary and Advanced Level Examinations, which is the most popular qualification. Preparation for Cambridge International Examinations is also offered by a few schools but is less popular. Tuition. Due to the high competitive nature of exams such as Year 5, GCE L and GCE L as well as London OLs and ALs, parents seek additional help at home and at group maths classes to improve their children's grades and performance. In recent years this has become a lucrative enterprise, which has resulted in successive governments attempting to regulate it. Many scholars have also accused tuition classes of robbing the childhood and having a negative impact on the child's health. Tertiary education. Undergraduate education in state universities is free but extremely competitive, limited and standardized. Fewer than 16% of those who qualify get admission to state universities, and of that only half graduate. Admission to the university system is based on the highly competitive GCE advanced level examination. Selection of students is done on the basis of rank order on average Z-scores obtained by candidates at the GCE advanced level under a transparent national policy to replicate a district basis representation. Only the top students from each district get admissions. The top students from urban and rural districts get the chances of having tertiary education. However, top students who got qualified under the minimum Z-scores requirements for admissions from remote districts may get in with relatively lower marks than those from urban districts. As a result, many students who are not granted admission find other means of higher education. Around 8% those qualified but could not get admission for higher education go abroad to pursue their studies. Others enroll themselves at the Open University of Sri Lanka or at the few state-owned autonomous degree-awarding institutes, or study as external students of traditional universities or at private institutes that conduct classes and exams on behalf of foreign universities. Some study for entrance, membership for professional bodies both foreign and local, or do studies at vocational technical colleges that specialize in mechanical and electronic subjects. Government has schemes to provide financial aid in addition to free education to financially support to those qualified to get admission to state universities. There are only 15 state universities in Sri Lanka. The prominent ones are University of Colombo, University of Peradeniya, University of Ruhuna, University of Kelaniya, University of Sri Jayawardenapura and University of Marathwada. In recent years, with changes to the University Act, a few institutes have been given permission to grant their own degrees. The most prominent is the government-owned Sri Lanka Institute of Information Technology. Still, there are unemployed graduates in Sri Lanka, except in the fields of medicine, information technology, commerce, law and engineering disciplines. Many claim that if state university graduates are unemployed or causes brain drain, that is because of limited exposure in the country for the degrees they have. Many intellectuals express the need for private universities in the country, where students who chose not to attend or do not gain admission to state universities could study in their home country at a lower cost. The North Colombo Medical College was one such institute. Before its nationalization, it produced some of the best doctors in Sri Lanka, but efforts to establish private universities have been blocked due to protests conducted by many parties claiming that it would create more competition for state university students. In recent years, this has become a reason for students who do not attend state universities to prefer going abroad or study at other institutes and professional bodies. For a complete list, see Sri Lankan University's classification of tertiary qualifications certificate. 1 year or less than 1 year of study. Diploma 1 to 2 years of study. Bachelor's degree, general degree. 3 years of coursework without a major. Honours, special degree. 4 years of coursework and research with a major specialization in a field. Master's degree, undertaken after the completion of 1 or more bachelor's degrees. Master's degrees deal with a subject at a more advanced level than bachelor's degrees and can consist either of research, coursework, or a mixture of the two. Doctorate, most famously Doctor of Philosophy, which are undertaken after an honors bachelor's or master's degree, by an original research project resulting in a thesis or dissertation.